Good afternoon. I want to first thank Diana Moses for putting this whole event together. She did a really great job, so let's give it up for Miss Diana Moses. Texans for Accountable Government is a transpartisan political action committee. We call ourselves transpartisan because so many of the issues that are affecting us they don't subscribe to party lines. We're talking about totalitarianism versus freedom. And so as soon as we can stop letting political party lines divide us, we will be able to start making some headway and bringing about the free country that our forefathers fought for. What was so amazing about this country when it was founded was that we had a system of government that respected the human rights that we are all born with. We don't have our rights because we're Americans. We don't have our rights because the Constitution says so. We have our human rights because we were born free on this planet. And we deserve them, and we deserve a government that respects them, which is why it's so important to restore the republic that we deserve here in this country. I believe that there are two arms to the movement. I believe that there's an education arm where we start learning how to live freely, growing food, start bartering, learning about a real monetary policy that has value rather than a fiat currency, knowing who has eggs and who has milk, and start bartering and trading and to start forming the strong communities that used to exist in this country so that we are not dependent on a centralized federal government that has grown to be more of an oppressor than a protector. The second arm to the movement is political activism. It's unfortunate that we have to spend so much of our time paying attention to what Washington and what people in Austin are doing at our Capitol building, our legislators, because they aren't following the contract that they're supposed to, the Constitution. Our Texas Constitution is far from perfect, I would say. If you look at the right to bear arms, the state has the right to tell you how you can bear your arms. I don't think that that's freedom, but it's something that we can work on. I think it's something we can all agree needs to be changed. So that might be, next session we might get that as a constitutional amendment and be voting on it in November 2013. So the political activism is really important, and it's too bad that more people don't have more time, and it's really because the value of the dollar has plummeted. From 1913, it's 98%. Completely devalued. And if we were making that much more money, we would have more time to spend with our families, raising our kids. You know, people try to work so hard to raise enough money to pay someone else to raise their kids. And it's so important for us to get back to the human element of what makes a free country great, which is personal responsibility and raising your kids with the values of your family. It's very important that the government stays out of that. So another part of TAG is we focus on trying to create community solutions rather than the coercion of the state. So recently we had, the Bastrop area was devastated with wildfires, and FEMA wanted to come in. They did come in actually eventually and take over. But before they could do that, we worked with Brave New Books and the Lone Star Smart Project, and were able to raise $750 for Mission U2, which is a church organization that Kelly Price works with, and Kelly's here today. They were feeding all the victims breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so we were fortunate enough to raise money for them because it's important that the community comes together and takes care of each other rather than relying on the state. Thank you. The thing that makes TAG most successful from what I've seen is sticking to our three pillars: humanize, harmonize, and localize. Humanizing is all about what's going on here in our community, learning to make a human connection with our elected officials, with our police officers, and with each other to really understand where we're coming from, because we're all humans and we all value a lot of the same things. And once we can start connecting on that level, then we can really start to get to the underlying problem, which is the state's intervention in our lives. And so when we can do that, then we really start to connect and we can start thinking about solutions. Harmonizing is something that is so important. I will put on the record, I am not a conservative. But I think that there are many things that we all agree on and that we can work together on. The TSA bill was, and the legislature that Representative David Simpson authored, was a perfect example. So many people from all across the political spectrum came together because at the end of the day, it is unacceptable for anyone to touch our children without our permission, unless it's a doctor or their parent. And just because they have a badge, they shouldn't be able to do that. And that is something that is very human and very instinctual, and we have to stick to those instincts, and we can work together on those things when we start harmonizing with people that we don't agree with on everything, but we can agree on some things, and on those things we need to stop being divided by party lines, come together, and actually make a difference. Now, another key element of the revolution is not federal office. Ron Paul, let me tell you, Ron Paul is great, but Ron Paul has very little to do with this revolution. He's a great messenger, but the revolution is each one of you out here today and staying involved in the political process and holding our government officials accountable and getting involved at the local level, because so many of these federal programs, these international programs, are being instituted at the local level, and that's where we can really make a difference. You have to look at your city council member in the face at the grocery store, and you can go there and you can schedule meetings with them. And it's so important to do it at the local level where we can really make a difference. I got involved in 2008, and it was right about when the bailouts were going on is when I started really paying attention. And I realized they had passed the bailout under both administrations, both political parties, with 1,001 phone calls. I made my phone calls to my congressman. They didn't matter. They don't care what we think. And so I learned two things. One is that Democrats and Republicans at the federal level are both doing the same totalitarian thing. That's the name of their game. And number two, focusing on federal issues is not going to get us anywhere. Our voice is so small from that level. This country, I don't believe, was meant to be as big as it is. I think there should have been plenty of revolutions between then and now, and we should have a much smaller government, and we should be decentralizing. That way we have more control of our government. So I will close out by thanking you all so very much for being involved in the political process. It is a pain in the ass to be involved in watching what these guys are doing day in and day out, but it is a part of being free. It's one of the responsibilities that we have to maintaining or restoring the free country that we deserve. So thank you very much for being involved. Thank you, Diana, for organizing this. And please check out Texans for Accountable Government. We have some information about our organization. We'd love for you to get more involved. Thank you.